Greetings, class. Today we're going to be finishing up our section on solving radical equations. So we're going to solve each equation. Here are the directions. Remember to check for extraneous solutions. Extraneous solutions occur or can occur when you square both sides, because you could be bringing in an extra solution when you square both sides. So here are the steps. We want to isolate a radical. If there are two radicals that aren't like, we usually isolate the more complicated one. And I put usually in there. We don't always have to do that, but yeah, it's normally what we do. We square both sides to eliminate one of the square roots. Make sure you are careful to multiply the other terms correctly. I'll be walking through that and showing you and reminding you of a couple things. And then number 3, if there's still a radical remaining, you go back to step 1 and you repeat. You isolate the radical and do all that stuff again. And then once there's no radicals remaining, you get to step 4. You solve for x. You might have a linear equation or quadratic. And then make sure you check your answers, because you could get extraneous solutions. So let's look at number 2 here as a sample question. So I'll be doing 3 of the questions, and then you'll be doing the rest. So I'll try to make sure we talk through these steps here. So the first thing we want to do is we want to isolate the radical. So the radical is the square root of 14 minus 7k. So we want to isolate that right now. There's a 2 there with it, so we're going to subtract 2 from both sides. So we have k minus 2 equals the square root of 14 minus 7k. All right, so there was only one radical, so we isolated it. Now we're going to square both sides to eliminate the radical. So we're going to square both sides. Over here on the right, the square root cancels with the squared. So we have 14 minus 7k. On the left, we need to multiply this out. This is not k squared minus 4. It is not equal to that. Remember, we're squaring a binomial. That means it's multiplied by itself, which gives us k squared minus 2k plus 4, which is k squared minus 4k plus 4. Now, we did learn a shortcut for figuring that out. Whenever you have a binomial squared, you take the first term and square it. You take the first term times the second term times 2. So k times negative 2 is negative 2k, times 2 is negative 4k, and then you square the second term. So negative 2 squared is 4. So that's a shortcut, or you can write it out and use FOIL to get that. Regardless, you see that we get the same thing. So this is k squared minus 4k plus 4. And now we notice we have a quadratic equation. There's a squared term there, so we're going to go ahead and get everything to one side. So we will subtract 14 and add 7k. So k squared plus 3k minus 10 is equal to 0. Factor. So you want to come back here. We isolated the radical. We squared both sides. We multiplied correctly. There wasn't any radicals remaining, so we didn't have to do that. And now we're solving for x. We have a quadratic equation. So we're going to solve that. So this factors to k plus 5 times k minus 2. And we get k equals negative 5 or 2. We must check your answer to see if those solutions are correct. So we're going to check over here. We'll check in blue. Let's plug in negative 5. So we're going to come back to our original and plug in negative 5. So negative 5 equals 2 plus the square root of 14 minus 7 times negative 5. We got negative 5 equals 2 plus 14 plus 35 is 49. So negative 5 equals 2 plus 7. That is not true, so that doesn't work. Now let's try 2. We'll put in 2 into the same equation. 2 equals 2 plus the square root of 14 minus 7 times 2. That looks like it's going to work out because 2 equals 2 plus, and then we have the square root of 14 minus 14, which is 0. That works. Our answer is just k equals 2. Number 4, it's going to be set up similarly. So we're going to go ahead and isolate the radical. Well, it's already isolated. So we isolate, I'm not going to write out the whole thing. 2, we want to square both sides. So we're going to square both sides. Which over here, that cancels. So we have 2a minus 8 equals, make sure we square correctly here. A minus 4 squared is a minus 4 times a minus 4, which is a squared minus 4a minus 4a plus 16, which is a squared minus 8a plus 16. Again, just remembering that shortcut, first thing squared is a squared. First times second times 2 is negative 8a, and then the second one squared is 16. And then over here, so here we have a squared minus 8a plus 16. We have a quadratic here, so let's get everything to one side. And we can do that by subtracting 2a and adding 8. Subtract 2a, add 8. This gives us 0 equals a squared minus 10a plus 24. We can factor here. So a and a, to get 24, we'll need 2 negatives because it's a negative 10. It looks like 6 and 4 will work out for us. So a will equal 6 or 4. We have to check our answers to see if they work. One could work, both could work, or neither could work. So let's check them. We're going to put it back into the original. So we have, so make sure you're careful. We have some other writing up there. So it's the square root of 2a, so 2 times 6 minus 8 equals 6 minus 2. So that's the square root of 12 minus 8 is equal to 4. Square root, I'm sorry, I wrote this wrong. This should be a 2. I mean, I put a 2. This should be a 4. So this is 2. Square root of 4 equals 2. That is correct. So 6 works. Now let's check 4. The square root of 2 times 4 minus 8 equals 4 minus 4. So again, we were just putting it back into this equation here. This is the square root of 8 minus 8 equals 0. Well, yes, the square root of 0 does equal 0. They both worked, so our solutions are 6 and 4. And let's finish with number 8 here.